Captain Elias Trent had seen many strange things in his life, but nothing prepared him for the fiery chaos that morning. The mining colony of Aurora Station orbited a small, cold planet on the edge of human-controlled space. Its dusty surface gleamed red under the light of a nearby star. Humans had built the colony quickly, mining rare minerals for use in advanced technology back home. Life on Aurora Station was hard. Supplies were scarce, the weather was harsh, and storms could appear out of nowhere. Elias had spent years traveling across systems, but even he could feel the danger in this place. The morning had started like any other. Elias was checking the shipment of mining equipment when his comm device crackled. Captain Trent, distress signal, unknown origin, urgent. Elias frowned. Distress signals were rare out here. Usually, they came from human ships or colonies. But this one was different. It carried an unfamiliar energy signature, something he had never encountered before. Without thinking, he activated his hoverbike and sped toward the source. The landscape blurred past him, jagged rocks and red dust whipping against his helmet. As he approached the signal, his stomach tightened. Smoke and fire rose in the distance. A ship alien in design was burning, its sleek curves melting under the heat. Sparks flew like tiny shooting stars into the air. He could hear the roar of flames even before he landed. Elias jumped from his hoverbike, scanning for any signs of life. Then he saw her. A small figure was trapped beneath the wreckage of the ship. Flames licked at her glowing skin. Elias did not hesitate. He ran through the fire, feeling the heat against his armor. Every instinct told him it was dangerous. But the thought of leaving someone to die was impossible. He grabbed a metal beam, prying it off the burning wreckage. The girl's body was fragile but alive. Her skin shimmered faintly, almost like liquid crystal, glowing in patterns that shifted as she breathed. Her eyes were unlike any human's, bright and reflective, filled with fear and pain. "Hold on! I've got you!" Elias shouted, pulling her free. The fire was hot, the heat searing his gloves, but he carried her to safety. He set her down gently on the cool ground, wrapping a blanket around her. Her breathing was shallow, and Elias could see that the smoke had made her dizzy. He patted her shoulder reassuringly. "It's okay. You're safe now," he said. She looked up at him, her voice weak and trembling. Thank you." Her accent was strange, melodic, and difficult to understand. But Elias could tell she was trying. He checked her for injuries. Burns covered her arms and legs, and she was clearly exhausted. "We need to get you out of here. Can you stand?" The girl tried, but her legs wobbled. Elias supported her weight, guiding her back to his hoverbike. On the ride back to Aurora Station, she leaned against him, trembling but alive. The sight of her glowing skin in the rising sun made Elias realize how extraordinary she was. He had rescued someone from a completely alien world, and her presence would change everything. At Aurora Station, Elias helped her inside the med bay. Dr. Sarah, the colony's medic, took one look and gasped. "She's not human." "Captain, what is she?" "I don't know," Elias admitted, "but she needs help. We can figure everything else out later." The girl stayed quiet, staring around the room with wide eyes. She was clearly afraid of humans, yet there was a trust in the way she allowed them to treat her injuries. Elias noticed her hands glowing faintly as she tried to sit up. "Your skin, it's glowing," he said softly. "It is my nature," she whispered. Her voice was soft but musical, almost like wind chimes. She struggled to speak. "I am Leora." "Leora," Elias repeated. "It's a good name. You're safe here, I promise." As Leora rested, Elias reflected on the situation. Her ship had been destroyed, probably hunted by someone. But why? The universe was vast, and encounters with alien life were rare. To have one right here, injured and alone, was extraordinary. Yet the danger was not over. Aurora Station was small and lightly defended. If the aliens who attacked her followed, everyone would be at risk. The colonists were nervous. Rumors spread quickly. Many feared that harboring an alien could bring trouble. "Captain, maybe we should call the authorities," one miner suggested, his voice tense. Elias shook his head. "No. We help her first. Then we deal with anything else. Right now, she's a person in danger. That's all that matters." Night fell on Aurora Station, and the colony was quiet, except for the hum of generators. Leora lay on a cot, her eyes open, glowing faintly in the dim light. Elias sat nearby, keeping watch. He asked her slowly, "Where are you from, Leora? Why were you in that ship?" She hesitated, then began to speak in broken English. "I am from Kailari Empire. They want me captured." Her glowing eyes seemed to dim as she whispered the words. "I ran to survive." Elias listened carefully. The Kailari Empire. He had heard rumors of the Kailari, a technologically advanced alien race, powerful and organized, controlling many star systems. If Leora was running from them, it meant she was important, perhaps even in danger for knowing too much. "Why are they after you?" Elias asked gently. My father, he opposed rulers. I escaped to warn the people." Her voice trembled. "I am target." Elias realized the seriousness of her situation. This was not just a refugee. She carried knowledge that could change the balance of power in the galaxy. Yet, despite the danger, she had survived, and now he was responsible for keeping her alive. The following days were tense. Elias worked alongside Dr. Sarah to help Leora recover from her burns and exhaustion. Leora began to show small but incredible abilities. Her glowing hands could create light shields, small barriers that repelled minor hazards. Sometimes, she could manipulate tiny energy currents, making devices flicker or hum. It was subtle, but it amazed the humans. The colonists began to see her differently. Where fear had once filled their hearts, now curiosity and awe replaced it. Elias encouraged them to be patient, to respect her as a guest and a friend. Slowly, Leora began to trust the humans. She spoke more each day, sharing glimpses of Kailari life, how their cities floated above planets, how their ships moved faster than light, and how their culture valued art, knowledge, and logic. But danger loomed. One evening, while Elias was repairing a communications array outside, sensors detected an approaching fleet signature. He froze. "Kailari. Scouts," he whispered. The ships were sleek, triangular, and bristling with weaponry. They had found her. Elias returned to the station, adrenaline surging. He could see Leora's glowing form inside the medbay, frightened but composed. "We have to leave," he said firmly. "They're coming for you." Leora nodded, her crystalline eyes shining. "I trust." Elias knew the station couldn't hold against a Kailari attack, but he also knew humans had a way of surviving against impossible odds. Using his knowledge of the terrain, the colony's resources, and quick thinking, he devised a plan. They would use decoys, stealth, and the narrow canyon paths around the station to hide from the incoming fleet. Every colonist had a role. Everyone had to act quickly. As night fell again, Elias and Leora prepared to leave. The hoverbike hummed, engines ready. Elias glanced at her. "We're going to get through this. I promise." Leora looked back, her face glowing softly. And in that moment, Elias realized something extraordinary. Humans were not just survivors. They were capable of courage, empathy, and brilliance beyond expectation. They had saved a life, and in doing so, had begun a story that could change the galaxy forever. The fire that had destroyed Leora's ship had almost ended her life, but it had also ignited a bond that would grow stronger with each passing challenge. Together, human and alien, they would face whatever the galaxy could throw at them. As the first stars of night shone over Aurora Station, Elias and Leora set off into the darkness, unaware that their journey would not just test their courage, but would show the galaxy the true power of humanity. The night air on Aurora Station was thick with tension, as Captain Elias Trent guided Leora through the rugged canyons that surrounded the colony. The Kailari scouts had been detected on sensors, but their numbers and strength remained unknown. Elias had studied the terrain. Jagged rocks, narrow passes, and hidden crevices gave humans an advantage in evasion, despite the aliens' technological superiority. Every step they took was careful, deliberate, and calculated. "Are we safe?" Leora asked quietly, her luminous skin glowing faintly under the dim light of the distant stars. Elias shook his head. "Not yet, but we're better off on the move than staying in the colony. The longer we wait, the easier it is for them to find us." Leora's eyes reflected a mixture of fear and curiosity. She had grown to trust Elias in the short time since he had rescued her from the fire, yet the vastness of human ingenuity still astonished her. She had been raised in the Kailari Empire, where order, hierarchy, and strict rules defined every action. Humans, by contrast, acted unpredictably, combining courage with creativity. Even now, while fleeing through rocky canyons in the dark, she marveled at their resourcefulness. As they moved, Elias began to ask questions, carefully, so as not to alarm her. "Tell me about your people, Leora. What's the Kailari Empire like?" Leora hesitated, choosing her words with care. "The Kailari, very advanced. Ships, faster than light. Cities, float above planets. Rulers, very strict. Rules, many." She paused, then added softly, "They do not like disobedience." Elias nodded, taking in every detail. "I see. And your father? You said he opposed the rulers?" Her glowing hands twitched, betraying her nerves. "Yes. He tried to change the empire. He wanted fairness, freedom, but they captured him. I escaped to survive, to warn others." Elias felt a surge of respect. This young alien had witnessed horrors he could barely imagine, yet she remained brave. She carried knowledge that could inspire hope and change, not just for her own people but potentially for countless others under the Empire's control. Suddenly, a faint hum vibrated through the rocks. Elias froze. Leora's eyes widened. "They close," she whispered. Elias crouched, scanning the path ahead. "Keep low and follow me," he instructed. They crept through narrow crevices, using the terrain to hide from any sensors. Leora's glowing skin posed a risk, but she learned quickly to dim her light, blending into the shadows like a living prism fading into darkness. Hours passed in silence. The scouts had not pursued them yet, but the tension never eased. During a short break, Elias offered Leora some water and a small ration of food. She looked at it curiously, tasting it slowly. Her body was different from humans, yet she seemed to enjoy the simple act of eating. "You humans, very strange," she said, almost smiling. "Eat for taste, not only for life." Elias chuckled. "We like the little things. Food, music, stories. It's how we survive by enjoying life, even in the worst times." Her eyes shone faintly in appreciation. "I like humans," she admitted. "Different from Kailari. Alive. Heart. Strong." For the first time since her rescue, Elias felt a warmth beyond relief. Leora's trust was growing, and he could see the beginnings of a bond that would not just help them survive, but would inspire them both in the challenges to come. As dawn approached, they found a narrow canyon with a natural overhang, providing some shelter. Elias built a small camp with the supplies he carried. While he worked, Leora practiced controlling her energy abilities. She could now create small shields around objects, and even manipulate light to make their camp almost invisible to distant sensors. "You learn quickly," Elias said, impressed. "I must," she replied simply. "Or die." Her words reminded him of the stakes. Humanity had survived in countless dangerous situations through courage and adaptability. But now, they were facing an alien empire that could crush entire planets. Yet the hope in Leora's determination reinforced his belief that humans could influence the galaxy in ways the Kailari had not anticipated. By mid-morning, Elias decided they needed a plan for long-term safety. "We can't stay here forever. The scouts will search systematically. We need to move off this planet. Somewhere we can regroup and think." Leora nodded, her crystalline eyes reflecting worry and resolve. "I know. A place. Inside the Empire. Secret. Hidden. Rebels. Help us." Elias raised an eyebrow. "Inside the Empire? That's risky. But if there's a chance to find allies, it might be worth it," she explained slowly, her voice melodic but urgent. "Some Kailari not agree with rulers, secret hideouts. They help those escape, change." Elias understood. This was more than a rescue. It was the beginning of a journey that could change the balance of power across star systems. "Then we have a path," he said. "We'll find them. And we'll make sure you're safe along the way." They packed their supplies carefully, hiding evidence of their camp. Elias taught Leora how to manipulate her light to act as a guide in the darkness. Together, they moved swiftly, avoiding open plains and sticking to rocky terrain that masked their movement. Along the way, they encountered unexpected dangers. A sudden sandstorm blew across the canyon, stinging their skin and making navigation almost impossible. Elias guided Leora, holding her hand tightly as wind and dust threatened to separate them. Her glowing form dimmed almost to invisibility, but Elias reassured her with words and steady presence. "We'll get through this. Together." By evening, they reached a small ridge overlooking a valley. In the distance, they could see the faint lights of a Kailari patrol ship scanning the terrain. Elias studied their patterns, noting when the energy beams swept across the land. Timing was everything. "Ready?" he whispered. Leora nodded, concentrating. Her hands glowed, and the light shifted, bending around them. In that moment, Elias realized the full potential of her abilities. They could hide not just from sight, but from sensors and energy detection. Carefully, they moved down into the valley, sticking to shadows and uneven terrain. Hours later, they found a hidden cave. Elias checked for traps or surveillance, and finding none, he allowed Leora to rest. She sat quietly, glowing faintly in appreciation. "Thank you, Elias. I trust you. I lime, and lime. You've earned it," he said gently. "You've shown courage too. You're not just a passenger in this journey, you're part of it." As the night deepened, Leora shared more about the Kailari Empire. She spoke of floating cities, of advanced medicine, and of the rigid control that the rulers maintained over the people. Yet, she also spoke of the secret factions, Kailari who quietly opposed tyranny and dreamed of freedom. Elias listened, absorbing every detail. Human curiosity burned inside him. If they could reach these rebels, they could gain allies strong enough to challenge the Empire, but only if they proved themselves worthy. You humans, strong, clever, heart, brave, Leora said finally, different from others in galaxy. You help me, and hope grows. Elias smiled, feeling the weight of her words. Humanity had always faced the impossible with courage, and here it was again, proving itself not just as survivors, but as partners in a cause larger than themselves. Before dawn, Elias checked the surrounding area. Their path forward would be dangerous, but he had a plan. They would use the terrain, Leora's abilities, and human ingenuity to evade scouts and make contact with the Kailari rebels. The bond between human and alien had grown stronger, built on trust, courage, and shared purpose. Together, they were more than the sum of their parts. As the first light of morning touched the jagged rocks, Elias and Leora prepared to move. Elias adjusted his pack and gave her a reassuring nod. We're leaving this canyon. The journey ahead will be harder, but I promise, we'll survive. We'll make it together. We're. Leora's eyes shone with determination. I believe in humans, she said. And in that moment, Elias knew that the rescue had been only the beginning. They were no longer just a human and an alien. They were partners, bound by trust, courage, and the shared goal of survival and hope. Together, they would face the dangers of the galaxy, and their bond would become a symbol of what humans could achieve when they acted with bravery, intelligence, and heart. As they stepped into the valley, their figures blending with the shadows, the first hints of a larger adventure loomed on the horizon. The galaxy was vast, and the Kailari Empire powerful. But humans had something the Empire could not predict: courage, creativity, and an unbreakable spirit. And Elias and Leora would prove it. The stolen Kailari scout ship hummed quietly as it glided through the void of space. Elias Trent sat in the cockpit, his hands steady on the controls, while Leora, still recovering from the injuries and exhaustion of the fire, hovered nearby. The stars stretched endlessly before them, glittering against the blackness. The hum of the ship's engines was the only sound besides Leora's occasional soft breathing. This ship, very different from human ships, Elias said, glancing at the control panel. The interface was smooth, almost alive, with lights and symbols that responded to touch. But I think I can figure it out. Leora tilted her head, observing him closely. You learn fast, human, she said, a hint of admiration in her voice. I did not expect this. Elias smiled. We adapt. It's how we survive. Despite her weakness, Leora began to help, using her energy manipulation to interface with the ship's controls. Her hands glowed faintly, and the lights on the panels shifted and changed according to her movements. Together, human and alien navigated the ship away from Aurora Station and toward the inner sectors of Kailari space, where Leora said the rebels could be found. The journey was not easy. Sensors picked up Kailari patrols, massive triangular ships that scanned the darkness of space. Elias relied on both his piloting skills and Leora's abilities to dodge them, slipping through asteroid fields and using gravitational anomalies as cover. Leora's energy shields were particularly useful, bending light and hiding the ship from detection. During the long hours of travel, Elias learned more about Leora's life and the empire she had fled. She spoke of her father, a respected diplomat and visionary who had tried to bring fairness to the empire. His efforts had angered the ruling council, forcing Leora to escape with crucial information that could help reform the empire from within. Why did your father fight them? Elias asked one evening, as they floated near a glowing nebula. The swirling colors reflected in Leora's eyes, making her glow even brighter. Because many suffer rules. Harsh people cannot speak freely, she said softly. He wanted justice, equality, freedom. Elias nodded thoughtfully. Humanity had always valued freedom, often struggling against impossible odds to protect it. In a strange way, he felt a connection to her father's mission. We do the same, he said. Humans fight for what is right, even when it seems impossible. That's why we survive. That's why we thrive. Leora looked at him, her glowing eyes reflecting hope. Then, humans? Strong? Brave? Heart? Same? Father? Dream? Days passed as they moved deeper into Kailari space. Elias and Leora ate together, shared stories, and grew more comfortable in each other's presence. Leora's abilities continued to evolve. She could now manipulate small energy currents to power the ship or disable minor sensors on patrol ships. Her control impressed Elias. "You're incredible," he said. "I've never seen anyone do this." "I must survive, must help," she replied. Her determination inspired him. Humanity's courage had always been a spark. But here, combined with alien skill and knowledge, it felt unstoppable. Their first major challenge came when they approached a heavily guarded Kailari space station. It was a massive structure, orbiting a gas giant, bristling with weapons and sensors. Elias froze for a moment, studying the patrol patterns. "We need to get past this. One mistake, and they'll capture us." Leora's hands glowed as she interfaced with the ship's controls. "I can help, shield, hide, lights, sensors." Elias watched in awe as the ship's glow dimmed, energy fields bending the light and rendering the vessel nearly invisible. Carefully, they navigated through the station's perimeter, holding their breath as patrol drones scanned the area. Time seemed to stretch. Every second felt like a minute. Then, with a soft click and a whisper of displacement, they were past the station. Elias exhaled slowly, a grin spreading across his face. "See? Humans always find a way." Leora smiled faintly, her glow warming the cockpit. "You, clever, brave, human," she said. As they traveled further, Leora transmitted encrypted messages to the secret rebel factions she knew existed within the Kailari Empire. She hoped to make contact and arrange a safe meeting. Elias watched as the communication system pulsed with energy, amazed at the coordination required to reach hidden allies in such a vast, technologically advanced empire. Finally, they received a response. A message flashed across the holographic display, encrypted and urgent. "We know who you are. We know what you carry. We will meet you on the planet, Thalor. Trust only each other. We move at dawn." Elias nodded, feeling a mixture of relief and anticipation. "We have a destination. Now we need to get there safely." The planet Thalor was in the outer rim of Kailari space, a world of floating islands and vast oceans. As they approached, the planet's beauty took their breath away. The sky glimmered with auroras, and the oceans reflected them like mirrors. Leora's glow brightened, reflecting the colors of her homeworld, though in a more peaceful and hidden part of it. Upon landing on Thalor, they were met by cloaked figures, rebels, who had risked everything to hide from the Empire. These Kailari were cautious, but grateful to see Leora alive. Elias introduced himself, explaining their journey and the dangers they had faced. The rebels were impressed by his courage, his skill, and his respect for Leora. "You humans. Different," one rebel said, observing Elias closely. "You risk yourself. Help others. No fear. Heart. Strong." Elias smiled politely. We survive by working together, by protecting those in danger. That's how we've lasted in this galaxy. The rebels agreed to help them, providing supplies, information, and a plan to return safely while preparing to challenge the Empire. Leora's knowledge of the Empire's inner workings proved invaluable, and Elias's ingenuity impressed them. Together, they formed a small alliance, combining human adaptability with Kylari technology and strategy. In the days that followed, Elias trained with the rebels, sharing human tactics that were unconventional yet effective. They practiced ambushes, stealth maneuvers, and improvisation. Leora, recovering her strength, became a bridge between human ingenuity and Kylari precision. The rebels began to see humans not as inferior newcomers but as equals, strategic, courageous, and morally steadfast. One evening, as they watched the twin suns set over the floating islands of Thalor, Leora turned to Elias. I never thought humans could be this strong, wise, kind. Elias looked at her thoughtfully. Strength isn't just about weapons or technology. It's about courage, hope, and doing what's right even when it's dangerous. Humans, we've always believed that. And now, we're showing it. Leora's glow brightened in agreement. Then, together, we can change the Empire. Elias nodded. Yes, together, we can. And not just survive. We can inspire hope. We can show them that power isn't just about fear, it's about heart, courage, and working for what's right. Their bond, tested by fire, flight, and fear. Leora's knowledge and abilities, combined with Elias's human ingenuity and bravery, had created a force that neither humans nor Kylari could ignore. As night fell on Thalor, Elias stared at the stars, knowing that the journey ahead would be harder. They would face the full might of the Kylari Empire, a force far beyond anything they had yet encountered. But humans had always faced the impossible, and here, in the heart of alien space, they would prove once again that courage, intelligence, and integrity could change the course of history. Elias turned to Leora. Tomorrow, we begin the next phase. We go to the heart of the Empire. Not to fight blindly, but to show them that bravery and justice can't be crushed. You ready? Leora's glowing eyes reflected determination, trust, and hope. Ready. Elias. Together. Always. And in that moment, as the twin suns dipped below the horizon and stars began to shine, Elias Trent knew one thing. The galaxy had not yet seen the true power of humanity. And soon, it would. The journey to the Empire had begun. The stars stretched endlessly as Elias, Trent, and Leora approached the heart of the Kylari Empire. Massive ships floated in formation, gleaming in the light of a distant sun. And the capital planet, Kylarion, hung like a jewel in space. It was a world of towering spires, floating bridges, and dazzling cities that seemed to defy gravity itself. Elias had never seen anything so grand. And yet, he did not falter. This is it, Leora said softly, her voice trembling with both awe and fear. The capital of the Empire. Elias placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. We've come this far. We know their weaknesses, we know the rebels, and we know ourselves. The Empire may be powerful, but courage and intelligence, they can't overcome. Their stolen scout ship glided silently toward Kylarion, cloaked by Leora's energy manipulation. For the first time, Elias felt the weight of what they were attempting. To confront the rulers of the Kylari Empire, to show them the strength of humans and the power of hope, it was dangerous beyond imagination. Yet he knew this was a moment where humanity could shine, not through brute force, but through courage, ingenuity, and heart. As they landed in a hidden docking bay beneath the capital, the rebels awaited them. Among them were Kailari leaders who had secretly opposed the ruling council, their faces filled with cautious optimism. Elias stepped forward, addressing them with calm confidence. "We are here not to destroy, but to show another way," he said. "Humans survive not because we have the strongest weapons, but because we have courage, creativity, and compassion. We protect those in need. We fight for what is right. And that is why we are here." The rebels nodded, inspired by his words. Leora stood beside him, glowing softly. Her presence was a symbol of the stakes. They were not only confronting the Empire, but also protecting a life that symbolized hope and change. Inside the palace, the ruling council awaited. Tall, imposing Kailari figures, their crystalline eyes sharp and unyielding, studied the humans with suspicion. Elias walked forward, not with fear, but with calm assurance. Leora hovered beside him, her glow illuminating the chamber. "You dare bring a human to Kailarian?" one of the council members demanded, his voice echoing. "Do you not know what your kind is capable of?" Elias smiled faintly. "I do not underestimate your power. But power alone is meaningless if it is not tempered with courage, wisdom, and heart. Humans are not here to fight blindly. We are here to show that strength is not only in weapons, but in bravery, honor, and hope." The council exchanged uneasy glances. Elias continued, speaking of the humans' journey to rescue Leora, their ingenuity in evading the patrols, and the trust that had grown between alien and human. He described how humans valued life, freedom, and justice, and how these values inspired even those oppressed within the Empire to hope for a better future. Leora spoke next. Her voice was soft but firm. "I came to show that humans can be trusted. They saved me, protected me, never gave up, even when danger, everywhere." Her words had a profound effect on the council. The Kailari were logical, ruled by reason, and yet they could not ignore the courage and moral integrity of humans. They had faced countless threats, but Elias and Leora's actions were unlike anything they had seen. It was not fear that drove them, it was hope, ingenuity, and an unwavering commitment to what was right. One of the council members stepped forward, his crystalline hands tapping on the polished floor. "You speak of courage and morality, yet you are only humans. What can you possibly teach the Kailari Empire?" Elias looked directly at him. "We teach you that true power lies not in fear or control, but in the ability to inspire, to protect, and to act with honor. Humans survive because we act with heart. And in that, we are stronger than any weapon or fleet you possess." The chamber fell silent. The words echoed in the minds of the council members, challenging their beliefs. They had ruled with strict authority, believing control was the only path to stability. Yet here stood humans, showing them that bravery, intellect, and morality could shape the galaxy in ways they had never imagined. Leora extended her hands, letting her glow fill the room. "Humans, help, not destroy. Together, we, better future, create." The council deliberated, their crystal-like eyes shifting as they considered the evidence. They had seen the humans' courage firsthand, and the loyalty and bravery of Leora and the rebels strengthened their argument. Slowly, one by one, they bowed not in fear, but in recognition of human achievement and honor. Elias felt a surge of pride, not for himself, but for humanity. The human's ability to inspire respect, even from an empire that spanned countless worlds, was the true victory. Leora smiled, her glow brighter than ever, reflecting the hope that had been born from this extraordinary journey. The Empire agreed to an alliance. Humans would be welcomed as equals, their contributions valued, and their courage celebrated. The Kailari rebels would work openly to reform the empire, bringing justice and fairness to those who had suffered. Leora's father, once imprisoned, was released and honored for his vision of equality. As Elias walked through the palace halls, now lined with humans and Kailari alike, he realized how far they had come. From a small mining colony on the edge of space to the capital of a powerful alien empire, humanity had shown that courage, ingenuity, and moral strength could overcome the impossible. In the weeks that followed, humans and Kailari worked together, sharing knowledge, technology, and culture. The galaxy began to change. Alliances were formed. Oppressed planets found hope, and the bonds between species grew stronger. Elias and Leora became symbols of trust, courage, and cooperation, proving that even in a vast and dangerous universe, compassion and bravery could create a future brighter than any star. One evening, Elias stood on the balcony of Kailarian's highest tower, overlooking the sprawling city beneath him. Lights shimmered across floating islands, and ships glided gracefully through the sky. Leora stood beside him, her glow reflecting the colors of the setting sun. "You see, Leora," Elias said, smiling, "humans don't just survive. We adapt, we inspire, and sometimes, we change the galaxy." Leora's eyes sparkled. "Yes, humans. Special, strong, brave, heart, always." As the twin suns of Kailarian set, casting golden light across the city, Elias knew that this was only the beginning. Humanity had not just won respect, they had earned a place among the stars. Their courage, intelligence, and moral strength had rewritten the rules of the galaxy, proving that even the smallest beings could inspire the greatest empires. The story of Elias, Trent, and Leora became a legend, a tale told across worlds. The story of a human who risked everything to save an alien girl, and how that act of bravery and compassion reshaped an entire civilization. In the end, it was not weapons or power that triumphed. It was humanity, the ingenuity, courage, and heart of people who refused to give up, who fought for what was right, and who showed the universe the true meaning of strength. And as the stars glimmered above, humans and Kailari alike knew that together they could face anything the galaxy might throw at them, united by trust, respect, and the unbreakable bond forged in fire and darkness.